First of all, I'd say, although we were facing some conventional threat, I would term it more as a hybrid threat. So we were dealing with an enemy that was fighting both conventionally, but also using hit and run or guerrilla type tactics. As far as the terrain in Afghanistan, certainly there are large swaths of that country that are mountainous and would be completely impassable, not only to main battle tanks, but any type of armored fighting vehicle. The area that we were operating in southern Afghanistan, there are certainly areas that were a tanker's dream. We had tabletop, flat, open desert in some areas where tanks can maneuver quickly and decisively. But we also had to deal with grape fields, which in essence were a series of anti-tank ditches. So spaced out a couple meters in depth. They were completely impassable to our wheeled vehicles, and that's what kept them on the roads. That's what kept them more susceptible to enemy attack by roadside bombs. And that's one of the reasons why tanks were deployed to Afghanistan, is because they had the capability with implements on the front of those vehicles to slice through those grape fields, create improvised roads, therefore take away the enemy's ability to forecast and target our movements.
In fact, what you're doing is rolling over trenches, in a sense, which is, of course, why the tank was first invented.
That's right. And so, although we had introduced those tanks to a counterinsurgency operation, there were certainly parallels in the tactics that we employed to what we would see on the conventional battlefield as well.
So what you're saying is the tanks allowed you to get off the roads and not where the insurgents were placing mines or IEDs, and therefore you could avoid those because they couldn't predict where you were going to go.
The tanks brought three things primarily to that fight. One that we just talked about is that tactical battlefield mobility. So allowing the Canadian Battle Group and coalition assets to get up close and personal with the enemy at the time and place of our choosing. At times taking the fight off the roads where they could predict our movement. And they provided additional protection. That would be the second and obviously a very important thing. For Canadian infantry forces, we have that ability to put that 50 tons of rolled homogeneous steel between our enemy and our more vulnerable dismounted soldiers. And then, of course, tanks brought with them increased firepower. So that 105 millimeter main gun had the ability to get to insurgents with precision over greater ranges and with greater effect than other weapon systems in Afghanistan at the time.
Who was introducing tanks into Afghanistan at this time? Was everybody doing it?
At the time, Canada was the first country to introduce tanks into combat in Afghanistan.